yourself on TV, stream yourself waving to yourself. Let that go. That's what Joe Buck did he was the first one to kind of make that popular. He'd be calm, there'd be someone behind home plate who, you could tell it's their first time ever being like in the green seats at Old Bush Stadium. Right. It's like, and then there's that guy in the blue shirt who's got the hot dog, he's gonna spill it, and then he's talking on the phone. He's looking for the camera, he's call people out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, because it's like, it's kind of playing them in a way.
Yeah, that's fun.
Is Brendan gonna join us tonight?
No, Brendan is,
Okay.
he had a funeral to go to, so I think it was a great, he had your uncle.
Well, with that, I'd like to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Board of Public Safety Deer Management Subcommittee for Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Michelle, if you'd be so kind to go ahead and call the roll.
Sure. Dave Williams.
Present.
Scott Collier.
Yes, here.
And Sergeant Winling.
Here.
Sarah Wildwood. Here. And Reverend Brown. Okay.
All right, with that, moving on to approval of minutes from our last meeting of October 1st. Copies are provided. Had a couple minutes to review through this. We did not have that much on the agenda for our last meeting. Just kind of working through the process, mostly coming up with our resident survey and some other more housekeeping items. Everything appears to be in order. With that, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of 1 October.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is public comment. Looks like we do not have anyone with us, but as we've done in the past, if we have some stragglers coming in towards the end, we're certainly have that flexibility to fit that in. I don't see a problem with that, so we'll mark that completed for now, but certainly more than able to come back to that if we have some stragglers come in. Next item on the agenda was the development of the resident survey, and I think Sarah, you have an update for us?
Yeah, so I put together a draft as was emailed out to some of you at least. And I think in your packet is there's a copy of the survey within the packet. There were a few things I wanted to go over with you guys all as a group. So, sorry, I'm trying to find a pen. There we go, there it is. So on page 2 of the survey, the page that has questions 1 through 3, I had one of my coworkers look over this. She's very good at making surveys. She's done it before in previous jobs. She had the comment that, would you like to have a don't know option for how big is your lot or property? Because she said she wouldn't know how big her lot was. Would that be okay with you guys for me to add that?
Yeah.
Or do you think your residents have a better handle on their lot sizes?
I think it would probably be, most people would know, but adding it, I don't think causes any harm.
Great. So
This does
then,
not want to stop.
Yeah.
If you could put what size is your property instead of how big,
yeah, that's
just
fine.
in case of, you don't want people to feel like their property is small.
Great. And then the next comment I have skips ahead quite a bit to page 5. I just wanted to make sure it was clear that, I know Dave had mentioned maybe adding an if yes. What was the estimated cost of damage? I just want to make it clear, this question will only appear if they select yes.
Oh, great.
So I didn't put that in, it's just extra words on the page, and
Okay.
it's already taken care of within the logic. But I did have a question. In the previous question, we have a not sure, damage could have been caused by other animals. Do you want to still have them estimate a cost of damage even if it may not have been caused by deer?
I would be of the opinion that we're probably fine taking that out, because if they know it was caused by other animals,
Mhm.
I would defer to Aaron Shank if she were in the room.
Yeah.
But if there was damage caused by other animals, I would tend to think that the residents would probably know that.
Okay.
Versus, knowing for sure that it was their hostas that were eaten by
Yeah.
a deer.
And the question is specific.
For which one are you referring
5.
to? 5, yeah.
Yeah, so it does say, it is asking if the
Yeah.
damage was specifically from deer, so
Yeah, so do you want me to
if
take?
unsure, it should be no. I would-
Okay.
Yeah, I live on the wild side of town, and there's damage by all kinds of animals, and
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what they are or who did it. So I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah.
I don't care either way on this one, so either.
I think
not
it's okay
sure,
to take it out.
Take out the not sure option, is that okay with you as well? Okay.
Because if they know it's not deer, they're probably gonna answer no.
Okay.
And I think it's the
Yeah.
same end result either way.
That's fine with me. And then, skipping ahead to page 8. Dave, you had wanted to add to the end of question 7, which is on page 6. Please explain your incident or whatever. What are you trying to get at with that?
I think that when people have an incident involving something like that, I think that people are gonna want to tell their story.
Okay.
I think that people are gonna want to, oh, yeah, it happened to me, and let me tell you what it was about, as opposed to yes, no, or estimated dollar
Okay.
amount.
So I'm fine with keeping a question, please briefly explain your household's vehicle crash involving deer. However, I don't have time to go through qualitative responses. And so that's my concern with it. Is there someone who's willing to go through that data? Because I just don't have time.
We'll manage that.
I don't know if you really want people to relive an experience that probably wasn't good.
Well,
It's sort of, could be a little bit like traumatizing to ask them to relive that. So my thought was, instead of that, maybe have it at the end of the survey, have a comment section where people
Okay.
can
All
vent whatever.
inclusive.
Yeah, then people can vent, if
Yeah.
they choose to.
I like that idea.
okay, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
As long as you guys are kind of still willing to go.
And is
through
the logic on
responses.
question 7 the same as it was with question 5? That if they answer yes, they'll see how much?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I actually had a note of it to let you guys know that
I
that
just wanted to
logic
be
is
sure.
there as well.
Should be.
And once we get it all the questions kind of settled,
Mhm.
I'll go through and triple check that logic,
Okay.
just to make sure it's in place. I know it is, but I'll check,
Okay.
triple check it at the end.
That's a good feature, because if people don't have that experience, why make them look at a question that
Yes.
pertains to them?
And that is part of the reason why there's so many different pages to this survey. It's to keep the flow going that way, because otherwise what would happen is it'll skip you over to the next question, but you're still gonna see that question's there, and you might be curious then about it. So I just put them all on different pages because of that.
You
Okay.
need a period at the
I was
end
gonna say
of
the same thing.
number 8.
Number 8, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I copied and pasted a lot of things. I missed periods, and there's a quotation mark that incorrectly in here too somewhere.
Okay, so we're gonna strike number 9.
So, and how would you like that comment box to be worded? Just, what would you like it to say?
Which one?
We're striking this number 9, and at the end of the survey, we're gonna have a comment box, is what you were describing. What would you like the
Let's
title to
let's go through all the pages and
Okay,
then.
that's fine.
If there's, and then we'll get we can discuss that at the end of it.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Fine with me. So the next thing I had a comment on was on page 12. In Dave's email, he kind of was opposed to including this question altogether. I don't care if it gets included or not. I didn't want to delete it until after we
Right.
had a chance to discuss it as a group. Do you want to talk about why you would like that to be excluded?
Well, I think that the perspective I was taking from this, and I actually discussed it with Sergeant Wendling here recently, is from a legal perspective, in terms of feed or not feed deer depends upon the county that you live in. And if the county that you live in has an active CWD management program, then it is illegal to feed deer. But that's going to be a moving target year to year based upon the Department of Conservation's experience with how they do what they do. So I think it's about nuance and how we actually word it. We can say things, I think it's easier, and it's a one-size-fits-all message if we say it's always a bad idea to feed deer and give the reasons why, as opposed to speaking to it from a legal perspective, because some years it might be true, some years it might not be true. We can certainly talk about CWD because that's matter of fact. Maybe we can kind of like take a little of both and say CWD, this is what it is, and oh, by the way, it's always a bad idea to feed deer because if they're all eating from the same corn pile, then that's how it's spread from one animal to the next.
Would you prefer a question that just asks, do you feed deer? Because then, like, before education about what CWD is and
Yeah.
everything, so it's not like aggressive, like, do you
Good to
feed
ask
deer?
that question.
Yeah, because then you could also get a feel for if your citizens are, how many of your citizens are feeding deer.
Right.
And then that could tailor some of the educational materials you later push out.
I'd like to hear from Officer Windling on what his input.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to ask the question if the residents would support an ordinance that prohibited feeding.
Okay.
Because I think the council probably will be looking for that direction in the future.
Don't really ask
So,
one way or the
yeah,
other.
so I think it's good to have that in there, but we could certainly, I mean, if you wanted to change or add something to the informational component, I think that would be fine.
Okay, great.
I think for the informational component, you could have a statement about CWD and then a statement that says, feeding deer creates deer clustering in neighborhoods and properties where the deer continually return.
Yeah, if someone just sends
And-
me what you want the.
Yeah, like
wordage
something
there to
about
be,
how
that's
feeding
fine.
deer can create a nuisance problem
As
with the
some-
deer and increase deer damage and risk in your neighborhood or
As to
something
the
like
question
that.
of asking people if they feed them or not, do you think people are going to be forthright in answering that question?
Well,
Or are they gonna be-
I don't really care to have that question on. If we can keep this, do you support Wildwood adopting a no feeding ordinance? I
Right.
think that's more important, but I
Agreed.
just felt like we would have needed something
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
go along with all of
Mhm.
this information about CWD.
Right.
There was just kind of thrown in there and nothing else related to it. With this question there, we don't need the other question, in
Okay.
my opinion.
Tend to agree.
Yeah, I think if we can convey that feeding the deer in the end results in a larger population overall, because it's sustaining, you're able to sustain a larger herd.
To Michelle's point, the clustering, which gets back to the CWD and everything else. Yep. Good.
And this might be a little bit out of order, but it's more of like a technical question in terms of what you can do with this
Mhm.
product. We are fortunate that we have 2 council members who are actually physicians. Ken Remming is in Ward number 3. He's actually, his specialty is sepsis. And this is something I indicated to Rick and then Michelle earlier today. I don't know to what degree we could integrate like a video clip. If there was like a 30-second, hi, I'm Ken Remming, I'm in Ward
Yeah.
3, and this is what CWD is, this is tick-borne diseases. Is it possible to,
It's not possible to have it embedded, I don't think.
okay,
It would be possible to have a link to a video. I can double check on embedding. I
Okay.
don't think it's possible though.
What about doing those on the social media?
Yes.
posts?
Yeah, I would say
Or-
you could do that. We could also change the introduction page so that it has clips to videos.
Okay.
Before taking this survey, please feel free to check out some resources for more information
I like that
about the
idea, too.
deer in Wildwood, something to that extent. We could, if I can get the information from you guys, we could put together a couple of infographics that we could link to if you host them on like your website somewhere, or even they could just be downloadable PDFs or something
Okay.
like that. I think there's some options there to put videos in. I don't know that I would want to interrupt the flow, and if it can't be
That makes sense.
embedded, I don't think it can. I can
I
double
think,
check.
I think at the beginning makes sense, because it's
Yeah.
kind of like the preamble. to
Yeah.
Everything else you're gonna see.
And then that way, I mean, that way they can kind of get some information beforehand, before coming into this blind, because
Right.
this is a hefty survey if you don't know anything about deer.
Well, they're gonna be very educated by the time they're
Yeah,
done.
hopefully, that's the goal.
So I'm working on a page on the website that is the Deer Management Subcommittee page.
Okay.
And so basically what I'll have on there is just an introduction of what we are, our goals, and then I can have a bunch of links that are all resources.
Great.
So something like that would fit, perfectly in
Awesome.
that. The one thing we don't really, do we have like a videographer, like somebody who
Really
can
don't.
do?
That's
I mean,
the
so
only thing we don't
if we
do.
can't do that, maybe there's something else, some other way that we can, because if you do a video, you just want it to be quality.
Right.
Otherwise,
Not
no.
something you shoot with your phone.
Well, yeah, I mean, not my phone anyway, it's not very good.
I know what you're doing, probably did, but, yeah.
Rick,
I-
Rick got a new phone.
I've got some contacts.
The
we
audio
could-
can be the diciest part of it, really.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
Microphone and,
Yeah, so that's, I think that's definitely, we could give it a shot at some point, but we could also maybe get some quotes from him
Okay.
and also put it into something else too.
Okay.
All right, so the next page that I had some questions on, page 14. So originally, when, Michelle sent this, she had another option of like, yes with restrictions. I'm absolutely fine with adding that in, but I'm just concerned, like, what restrictions I think they need could be wildly different from what restrictions Sergeant Wendling thinks they need. And I'm afraid that if you say yes with restrictions, you're not gonna get a very clear picture of what people actually think. I guess if you wanted that, I guess I would say to have a box that comes up if they select the yes with restrictions of like what restrictions would you wanna put in place. But again, then someone will have to go through that data. So, that was just my only thought on that.
Is well, so I guess I wanted to add that because it just all looks so simple, and some people may feel more comfortable saying yes if there were some discussion, liberation, and restrictions put in place, but I don't really know how else to say that so that
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah, I mean,
Some people might not be like, well, not in just this simple way, they may want more, so.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're having a comment section at the end, they would be able to express some of that then. Additionally, the thing about designing surveys that you learn is you kind of got to push people to answer in a way that maybe they aren't the most comfortable with, because if you give them that I don't know option, that's what they'll all choose.
Oh, it's
If you give them that kind of in-between option, you're not gonna get anything from your survey, because they're all gonna choose whatever's the most comfortable, and of course, the most comfortable is always that medium answer,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So again, if we do wanna put with restrictions, I think we need to have a secondary question that says what type of restrictions
They
would
would be
you
like-
want? Cause otherwise everyone will just select that one.
Mhm. Okay,
So I'd find either way, but that would be my recommendation.
we can leave it as it is.
Okay.
The question that I had on page number 14, in looking at the difference between question number 12 and question number 13, am I reading this correctly to say that for question number 13, you would basically, 13 is basically a continuation of question number 12 saying, hey, I live next to Scott, he's got 2 acres, I have 1 acre, we want to do it. But 13 is basically saying, yes, if the homeowners agree, they also have to have approval from the neighborhood. Is that kind of the gist of what we're trying to get across in that one?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you prefer that worded? I just copied and pasted. so
I would
like-
say-
A little confusing, too.
I would say
Yeah.
I would include the word subject to, that way it clearly shows, are you in favor of combining acreage if the owners, I can kind of, it's really, 2 words, subject to, and I'll kind of play around with it.
Yeah, just send me what you prefer and that's fine.
Or predicated upon is
Yeah.
really,
We never really asked the question about, would you be in favor of hunting on common ground if homeowners associations could create their own regulations for it, I guess? Is that something you think we should add
I think that's great, because they can do it right now.
yeah.
for 3 acres of common ground?
I think if they want to allow us.
Yeah, if the trustees will.
Trustees will do it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm sort of wondering if you need to have both questions. If what we're saying is subject to city or homeowners approval, you could just draw that into the first question and be done with it.
I agree. I think you could combine those questions
To
into
be
one,
honest.
because if the
That's the
homeowners
reason.
association's not okay
Because there are
with
certain
it.
homeowners associations that they have rules prohibiting it now regardless of acreage,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
So we might want to just say,
Yeah.
subject to
I would tend to agree.
Yeah,
And
I
Because
think
that's
that's
really
fine.
relevant city or homeowners association rules. And that kind of keeps it broad.
Correct, and that makes it very clear that we're not being heavy-handed about this. And we're
Right.
saying that, you know, a homeowner can say, I don't want to do it, and then even if the homeowners say yes, if their HOA says no, then it's a moot point.
Right.
I think that that would go a long way to allaying people's fears about, hey, we don't want it, okay, if you don't want it,
Right.
you know, have your HOA vote accordingly.
So, are you guys okay if I change that question to, would you be in favor of the city of Wildwood allowing adjacent property owners to combine their lots in order to meet the 3 acre minimum, subject to homeowners association approval?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, city or homeowners association approval. Because I don't know if is there a current limitation in the city due to size of lot? Or that there are certain restrictions? Yeah, maybe we just need to make it broad.
Well, and I-
Presumably, we would issue a permit or something to say you've been granted authority to combine your property.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if you adopted the ordinance similar
Yeah.
to Chesterfield or Ellisville that allows the combining of.
But I would say leave it as
City.
subject to city and/or homeowners association.
Agreed.
And that way it can be either or,
Agreed.
right? City and/or HOA.
Okay. Yep,
Just go
got
with
it.
Yeah.
I can make that change.
What about, are you in favor of hunting on common ground, subject to homeowners association approval?
Didn't we say that was already okay?
I didn't think that that's okay because it's really, it would still fall under the purview of the HOA whether or not they wanted to allow that.
It might be nice for the HOA to see this data though, in making their decision, because they can bring it up at meeting with a certain amount of confidence.
It is.
Should we throw in city
I mean,
owned
that's a good
property
point.
in there in the question as well? So there's some direction if the city were to take an interest in having hunts on city owned property. I mean, that's something that probably, we should probably ask, I would think.
Possibly, yeah.
So maybe a new 13 would be, are you in favor of allowing hunting on city-owned property or HOA common areas? Subject to city and/or
Yeah,
HOA
Maybe
approval.
split that out into two questions.
Yeah, I
Okay,
would
that might be
split
too
that
long.
into.
Yeah, I think you do have to make it 2 different questions because it's similar that it's not a residential parcel,
Yeah,
but it's something other than that where you still need to get some type of.
I can see a lot of people say maybe, but need more information.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Maybe,
Oh, yeah.
You know, they need to
And
be able to answer.
I have an idea for a graphic that I'm thinking that just a page that had like a crude kind of illustrative map could be included in here, just to help educate people. If we said, hey, this is Highway 109, west of 109, 3 acres, you can hunt with a rifle with property owner permission. East of 109, this is what the rules are, so that people have a visual to look at to
Right.
understand what some of us may have already, kind of become very accustomed to. That, I think, would only be a good thing, so that people can understand just as a visual
Sure.
Identifier.
That's a good idea.
Identifier as opposed to reading something. So, and I can take a stab at putting together.
Yeah, and if
visual.
it's an image, images I can definitely place on it.
A JPEG.
Yeah, JPEGs, GIFs, and PNGs are all able to be uploaded. I would
You could do that.
recommend using similar.
Could see about generating something probably year or two.
Yeah, I would really recommend trying to stay with a similar design, just so that it's not
Mhm.
jarring, like all of a sudden you're in like blues and primary colors. Just as a general rule, I would try to make it look as similar to this as possible.
Would you put it here on this, on the info page would be, I think, the place.
Right, near the front, as we start talking about hunting, so that people
Yeah,
can
that
see
page.
that to
On
kind
the-
of
on the
familiarize
page.
themselves.
Talk to Terry about.
It's like on page 13.
Together. Or I
Right.
could teach you how to do it. Which would get your.
Yeah, exactly.
Access pulled
Yeah.
together.
Your GIS.
Better description or.
Yeah. Because we got all those maps for the city and everything, so it would be probably a lot easier to.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just divided by 109,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that hard, hopefully.
Okay, and then, I think that was really the last thing I really needed to talk over with you guys. There is a typo in question 16 that I'm already aware of, I already have a correction on it, but, I guess question 16 was the other one I had. Questions about, you had suggested making some changes to the setup of those final 3 questions. I did not make those changes yet, as you can see.
Okay.
I am fine with looking at their preference between sharpshooters or trap and cold program. I think when we refer to the trapping, we need to refer to it as trapping and colding, because just saying trapping, I wouldn't think we're gonna kill the deer.
Right.
So then that
You're gonna
would
think
really,
relocation.
yeah, so it really biases the question to just say trapping,
Okay.
which is one of the things I wanted to discuss. But yeah, I'm fine with redoing this last page and like changing how these are. Yeah, we could either keep it as is or add an additional question of, would you prefer sharpshooters or a trap and cold program? And then let them say, would prefer sharpshooters, would prefer trap and coal, would be fine with either of them,
Okay.
would not want either of them. We could do it that way instead.
Then you got one question that. kind of
Yeah,
addresses both.
and it kind of addresses both, and it gives you a picture of which one they actually would prefer. in
So
case
that
they
people
both
could
say
say
yes.
A, B, either or neither.
Yeah, exactly. So I could do it that way. I would recommend, if there's gonna be an image on another page with some educational materials, I would maybe recommend having some type of image with some information on the overpopulation solutions page as well. Because even still, it's just, there's not a lot of information here about these different methods and about like what the cost and benefits is gonna be to the citizens. I don't know, I wouldn't be able to make an informed decision. I would have to say, I don't know, I need more information on any of these
I was
questions.
kind of thinking about, that we don't provide any information on cost, and that could be relevant to the answer.
I mean, it's very relevant to the answer.
I mean, I don't know if we can take a stab at it or put something in there to say, based on current population, we think it's gonna cost X dollars per.
It would really be, I think, just a directional type of estimate based upon what we've seen the experience be in
Yeah.
other municipalities. So we could say, give kind of a general
Yeah,
guesstimate.
I mean, if we can even give a best estimate, I think that's better than nothing.
Right.
As long as we make sure to be very honest and say it's an estimate. But, yeah, I mean, I've been doing research on this stuff, obviously, to help you guys out, and I still don't know anything. And if I don't know anything and I've been looking into it, someone who's just taking this survey for the first time is gonna say, I need more information.
Sure.
Especially because that's definitely the easy answer to give.
Right.
I was thinking about making an FAQ page, like for the, just a deer FAQ page.
Yeah, and if
for
we
our
could link to,
website.
yeah, and if we could link to it at the very beginning and say, please go learn some about some of the options that we're considering, and then let us know what you would prefer,
Mhm.
that would be good. I don't wanna link to too many things within the survey, because then you're
No, that
like
would be
leaving
from,
it.
yeah, that would be from our website. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I think a lot of what we could link to could be, you know, from there. You may, like, you may want to link to the sampling study
Yeah, I can do that.
from here, just because it is mentioned.
If you send it to
and
me,
and
or like
maybe-
where it's located.
Okay, it's, yeah, I can do that. And then the sampling study, and then the deer strike.
Yeah, the deer strike, the
Mhm.
traffic studies.
Yeah, I don't know if you can link that from the did you know from the deer strike?
I can link it to there. The only thing is if they click on it there, it's gonna pull them away from the survey, and we wanna make sure they finish it.
Right.
You know, you're gonna pull that right into that graphic, or one of the graphics into the thing if you want.
Oh, the
Yeah.
deer strike map?
The map,
I
yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just an image.
Yeah, add
Yeah.
image. Deer strike.
I think this is just good work.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this is great. I do have just a couple of semantic
Yeah,
things on page
absolutely.
16. So question 14, we say, would you be in favor? And then we switch to, are you in favor? I
Yeah.
would say, be consistent. So
Yeah,
would you
that's
be or are you, either or, but be consistent.
Okay.
And then to your point about, question 16, to make sure they understand strap and cull. I know you're hiring a sharpshooter, but do we need to be clearer by saying either hiring professional hunters or sharpshooters to periodically cull the herd? Do we need to add that so that people have a clear understanding of what we're
Right.
talking about?
I think
I
that
I mean, I think when you
sounds-
say hunter, I think.
And I think that dovetails nicely with what Michelle offered as far as like having an FAQ page, because so much of this is terms and terminology.
Oh, yeah.
And the farther that you get into it, we take for granted that we understand that, hey, if you're gonna have something like this, it's predicated by a sampling study, and it's the
Mhm.
Department of Conservation
Correct.
that says, hey, your number is this, and then you get a permit or a
Right.
permission slip from the city. So there's, linear progression, and this is how this is
Right.
done. That
Right.
most
Which is why I
people aren't
thought to
gonna
say
know.
to periodically, that gives the people the idea that this isn't gonna be a weekly or
Correct.
monthly
No, I think
event
that
even,
sounds really
right?
good.
Just to clarify it a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
For folks.
Yeah, just
So I would suggest-
send me the
yeah.
verbiage you'd like me to use.
I would
and I'll
add to
use it.
periodically cull the herd to that question.
One question that got lost, and I wonder, and it's in all the surveys, so that's why I'm wondering if we should bring it back, is, and I think you could ask this after the did you know for.
Which page are you on?
I'm sorry, I'm in 15.
Okay.
Do you think, like, just a simple, do you think there are too many deer in Wildwood? Or, how does the question go? I can't remember.
Yeah, do you think there's too many deer in Wildwood,
Mhm.
the right amount of deer in Wildwood, that kind of thing?
Something like that, like, do you, like,
Mhm.
just to get a read on
Yeah, that's
where
fine.
people are
How
at.
people feel about it.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
I might put that in at the beginning with like the deer observed.
I think that's a good idea, because if they see it at the end, they're gonna answer more in line with.
What they've
what-
been reading.
What the data in the survey shows them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
So it's a preliminary indicator of where they're at.
Right.
And that's a good catch.
Okay, so it would be deer observed, like, so it would be like number 3 or 4, maybe number 3 would be good.
Yeah, I'll put it before how many you actually see, before they actually think about how many they're seeing.
Mhm.
And it's 40 feet, within 40 feet of a roadway, should it be like more like 20? Because 40 feet is a pretty huge right of way. Like, I guess I wanted that to be the right of way.
So I mean, honestly, with that question, people are gonna be estimating any distance that you give.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter how big you
Right.
say, they're just,
I know, I'm thinking of the
Yeah.
distance where I'm like, oh, that, whatever that is, and I guess that's
I mean,
more
I do
was
think
a
40
little
feet is
less.
probably a little bit big.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, what's your average right away
Well, 40 feet probably for the
for Wildwood?
overall
like,
road.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that would probably, in most cases, extend beyond the right of way, but, I mean, it's really what the intent of the question is.
Yeah.
I don't know that you even really have to to mention a distance, you could just say
Yeah,
close to the,
Right.
close proximity or
Yeah.
near the edge of the road.
Mhm.
I think that's okay for that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing I will mention is, it's not on here, but when you click like the final button at the, after question 16, it now takes you to a page that says, thanks for taking our survey, learn more here, and gives the Wildwood website. And I just need to set that up when we finally finish this and I create the final link. I'll
Right.
set it up with that link as well. to say
Okay.
that.
The one other little question that I have is, it had to do with the use of the logo. Obviously, there's no issue or problem with us putting that there.
No, that shouldn't be, that's why it's, got trademark.
Okay, great, I just threw it in there.
We just have to make
Glad
sure
there's
we
no
get the right
issue.
one, which it hasn't changed over time. It's-
Yeah,
the
so
recent
it
one
was-
has
It was the
very
wrong
tight.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was good that you brought attention to it, because we gave her the right one.
Do you happen, speaking of the logo though, do you have an image of the logo as opposed to a PDF of the logo? Can someone send that to me? Because
Do you need it to be like a JPEG?
it can be a
or-
JPEG, a PNG, or a GIF.
Okay.
It's a little fuzzy because I had to turn the PDF into an image.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't look great on a computer screen. I made it small enough that it's not super noticeable, it'd be fine, but if there's an image, it'd be better.
Okay, so JPEG, GIF, what was the other option?
PNG.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the overall resolution of the, just in terms of like the readability
Mhm.
is greatly enhanced.
Oh, yeah,
So-
well, I hadn't even done anything with that stuff when you first commented on it.
Yeah.
I just left it as the default because I was more concerned
Right.
with the questions.
It was very bright.
I'm probably gonna make it a little bit smaller for phone reasons. If people take this on a phone, the
Gotcha.
questions are gonna be too big. I was looking at what it looks like on a phone. So I'll make the text probably a size smaller for the questions and for the answers. But
That's a good catch.
yeah, other than that, I mean, it looks pretty good on the phone, so,
Perfect.
yeah.
Any other comments or input for Sarah?
What do you think is a good statement to put at the end so that we get comments that are informative and not too random?
For the comment
That's what I'm
box, you
saying?
mean?
Yes, for the comment box. Do you think there's a good way to state that? Or do you think we're just gonna be over again at that?
Well, providing, a comment box, you're gonna, I think the comments are gonna run the gamut, but I think it's a good idea to preface it with a statement of request, or, so it sets the mood, shall we say, in their mind for what they're, and maybe it's something, as simple as, if you have any additional comments or wish to clarify any of your answers, please.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. That makes them rethink about the answers they gave, and maybe they think, well, I was gonna say yes, but it's a yes but, or a no but.
Right.
So if you wish to clarify any of your answers.
And you do almost have to kind of set some ground rules as far as like the type of responses that you're
Right.
soliciting. Otherwise, you're gonna get people talking about, well, my trash didn't get picked up last week. Well, guess what? This is
Yeah.
the wrong place for that.
But don't blame the deer.
Right.
So you want to say, if you have additional comments about deer
Deer
management,
Yeah.
Deer management.
Deer management, or wish to clarify, or add clarifying statements to any of your answers.
Clarifications.
Clarification.
Absolutely.
Create surveys, but I have a feeling there'll be a lot of people doing that blank. They're gonna go click, click, boom, boom, done.
That's the
well,
goal.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Right, oh, yeah. But for those who wish to
Yeah.
expound, they have. a
I'm,
place
I'm
for it.
okay with having
Yeah,
it there.
they have a place for it,
As long as
and
someone
it's
else
good
is
to-
gonna go through
it's good to have
it.
it.
Yeah.
Because you never, someone out there might have a couple of, a nugget of an idea that otherwise you wouldn't have caught,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
That just means we have to read it.
Yeah, that's,
But that's what we'll have
it's
to
for.
do. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay, so if you have additional comments about deer management in Wildwood, or to add clarification to your answers, please comment here.
think that's perfect.
I think this is gonna provide the council with a lot, and us, but the council in specific, a lot of good guidance. about the
How
mood.
long does the survey need to be open, or is there a level of required number of responses for validity or anything? or
Wow,
what?
if you want a survey to actually be valid, yes, but it's a lot.
A lot.
Most surveys are not valid. I'd say, let's see how it does.
Okay,
Sure.
Let's open it up, let's post it on your social media,
Yeah.
maybe send out a flyer that has a QR code that'll lead to it, a couple other things like that, and let's just see what the response is. You have pretty engaged citizens, so
Mhm.
I'd say you'll probably get pretty good responses.
I think that
You
we
even
would-
send out emails, don't you? Don't you
Yeah,
have an
there's
email list?
an e-newsletter
Yeah,
that
if
could
you
have a
could-
link.
If you could send it out as that as well, I mean, I think a lot of people will take it in Wildwood. You're very engaged
Yeah.
residents.
Where, when does it get that go out? I think that's.
I think it's gonna be, because usually it's twice a year.
Oh, okay.
It's
well,
only twice a year.
If you could
Okay.
send out an
So it's
additional
spring.
mailer or something like that, then.
Mhm.
We have an e-newsletter where, and we have the email list that the e-newsletter goes to, so we could send it
Yeah.
directly to them and or reference it in the news, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And then whether we send out a postcard, we could certainly send a postcard out, if we can figure out how we're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, of course.
If the place will pay for it.
Yeah, I think we'll have to pass on that, unfortunately.
But, it's really, for what it does, it's nothing.
Right. And I think there's a number of ways we can drive people to getting the survey in front of them through electronic, print, social media, any number of other ways we can get them to.
Yeah,
it.
I
both are
would
very
caution
helpful.
against print because someone will have to enter it electronically if you do print.
Oh, I mean print as far as like notification. like
Oh,
those
okay,
are-
I apologize, I misunderstood.
No, we're not printing these.
Okay.
No.
Like, I really have to advise.
Yeah.
Right.
What if I do get a call though, where somebody is wanting,
If they don't have a computer or internet
yeah,
access,
this might happen.
I guess
On an ad hoc basis.
you could, I guess if you were willing to enter the survey
Yeah.
on behalf of someone.
Do it over the phone with them,
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing.
Will it let me take it again though,
Yeah,
from that same device?
I can set it up to do that, or if, how many people do you think would do that?
I don't know. I worked at Shawnee Nature Reserve for like 2 years, and there's, which is,
Yeah.
10 minutes away, and there are all kinds of people who are interested in nature and not interested in computers, so.
Yeah.
Right.
They might call. I don't think we'll get more than like 10, quite honestly. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe if you can set me up to do that, that would be good.
I won't be able to set you just specifically up, I'll have to make it just anyone can retake it, I think. But let's cross that bridge when we get
I
there.
I
think
think
that-
that's good. I can do a printed version for those people
Yeah.
specifically and mail it or something like that. They can send it back and maybe at the end we can enter.
That'd be
Add it
fine.
in.
Because yeah, I'd rather people not be able to take it twice if they.
Yeah,
If we can
I'm
help
not
it.
excited about that either, so I prefer that.
That's completely where I was going with my
Yeah.
input, is that I think that we should make it so you take it once, you're done. If people say, I don't have this, or I live way out in the sticks and I don't have reliable internet, hey, just give me your address, we'll mail you one.
Okay.
And then maybe even include, because those are gonna be so few.
The
And,
other thing we could do,
Mhm.
if you are willing to do them over the phone, I could just make a copy of the survey with a different link. And you would be the only one with that link. You'd be able to take it as many times as you want. It'd be exactly the same survey. And in that way, I'd be able to add them into the rest of the data.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do them over the phone, we can do them that way, or you can mail them, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'd rather mail because this is a lot
Yeah.
of reading.
It would be a lot of
And
reading.
I
There
think
might
what-
be some emotional responses I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with
that's
over the
I
phone.
think Michelle is suffering enough
It
with
could be-
all right.
waste management
Sounds good.
kinds of phone calls, so we
Yeah.
don't need to burden her with that.
Well, and this is just, this could be emotional for some people,
Right.
so.
So I think if they call in and they say, I want to take it, but I don't have this, we mail it to them, and we can
Mhm.
even sweeten the pot and return, and include a postage paid return
We
envelope,
could
send it
try
back
something
to
like
us.
that, yeah.
I think that's going to be pennies,
Mhm.
Great,
so
sounds good to me.
we should move in that direction. Any other comments or input for Sarah? This is a really, really good product. I think this is going to be very well received, so thank you for this work.
Of course, no problem.
So once we complete it, do we run it through council, or what's the next step?
Well, I have it on the agenda for Thursday night.
Okay.
So kind of call in terms of how much you want to go through with the full board. But if you feel like it's ready to be discussed and sent to city council, we could take it to the next, well.
I would be in favor of that.
In fact,
Let's get it out.
I believe I do have it tentatively on item on the agenda for city council, at least for information.
Okay.
To let them know, you know, we're going to put it out for public consumption.
Okay.
I think it's pretty solid, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, I think some of the did you know pages will be changing. I think not many of the questions are changing, and I can make the changes to the questions for sure before Thursday. I'm not gonna have a chance to add much of the rest of the stuff into it before
Right,
Thursday.
and I think that in terms of anything that was going to require any more additional work or heavy lifting, I think it's fine to just say, hey, we're going to include a map.
Okay, great.
Fine, we don't need to see it,
Right.
we trust your
Yeah,
judgment.
I think the questions are the most important piece,
Correct.
and I think if someone sends me those questions tomorrow, I have notes about what you want, but I'd like to make sure that they're correct, and I think Michelle is also taking notes. I think. So yeah, if you can send me what you have tomorrow, I can make those changes, as soon as I get my computer back, which hopefully will be tomorrow afternoon, if, at the latest Thursday morning, because they are re-imaging it.
When is council?
Monday night, so I think I put it under for information at the work session as an item, yeah.
And I'll be there to
So
And then
if
the
you're
next-
there, then we can kind of lay it out, we can provide them the whole draft.
Right. And if they have it in advance,
And
they
then-
can look at it, bring their questions. I think we'll go
Okay.
right along.
And then we'll, just as long as they know, it's going to follow up with an end page and a link to our website. Don't really want to release it until that stuff is ready. And the question that might be for council is when is good timing to do something like this?
As far as sending the survey out.
Yeah,
When do you want to get it out? I mean,
in a,
Well, and I think that there's a fine line between, hey, we've put together something that's a very good product, and then we take it to the next phase and say, here's what we got, take a look at it. You run the risk of a continual editing, and then re-editing, and then edit more edits, and eventually you have to get it up to where.
And my thought with council is to say, this is what the board has developed and intends to move forward with, providing you feedback or comment, but not necessarily having to approve it.
Right.
You know, they may, you never know where that'll go.
Right.
but,
And if they have strong feelings against, what's in here, I'm sure that, they will let us know.
Yeah, they'll make their opinion known.
But
Yeah.
I
This is
think.
just an opinion survey too, it's not.
I don't think it's,
Pretty good.
I think it's pretty generic, not generic, but it's,
Mhm.
none of the questions are particularly.
Not terribly offensive.
No.
And you're not really backing people into a corner. It's open-ended.
Right.
Okay. So we will get you updates and edits where
Okay.
you've asked for them as soon as possible.
Good.
And get this on the agenda for the next council meeting as an informational item.
Yep, and if you're there at 6 o'clock.
I'll be there.
you're ready.
When's the latest you need to have the questions updated by?
Well,
Just for my
Thursday night is our
opinion.
full board meeting.
Thursday
so
night? Okay.
6:30.
Well, I'll have it done before I leave work on Thursday.
Yeah, if you can get it, actually, as soon as you can get it, we'll
Yeah.
either post to the agenda and or hand it out.
Yeah, I'll do my best to get it tomorrow. Beginning of the month is a very busy time in crime analysis land, so I will do my best to get it out. I have a lot of reports to do this week, though.
Okay, great. All right, with that, moving on to update on social media, public education program. Rick?
Well, the social media campaign is underway. And we posted a couple posts this week. We did a few last week and a couple, I think, the week prior, so officially we're in our third week, actually. We're trying to get 2 to 3 a week done. Next week with deer hunting, the following weekend or a week from this weekend, the thought would be to post at least 3 that were more germane to hunting
Mhm.
and our hunting regulations. So I'll make sure you guys are on the same page, but, and then after that, it would be, I guess the way I was gonna approach it was then we could have a couple final, more generic summary type ones. And then lead right into the survey maybe. So the survey would go out the week. It's really open for discussion, obviously, but I was thinking it could go out the week after deer hunting. That's good or bad.
It's pretty quick,
Yeah.
but it's,
That would be the week of the 18th, which is just prior to Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know how long you would want to run it. We probably do need to do a little work on, what's that?
I said it depends.
And if we are gonna mail out a postcard, that does take a little bit of time, but if we start now, we can get it done.
Yeah.
The one thing there is you pay more for the first class postage versus the bulk rate.
Yeah.
So that means more time.
Well, we just leave it open longer.
Yeah.
I mean, the early adopters are gonna find out about it by email, and so maybe instead of 2 weeks, we leave it open for whatever we set
Yeah.
up. But that way, a third-class mailer will get to people and give them time to still
Yeah.
go in and do it.
Yeah, and we can see how many answer right away too, that'll help. If you do find it in your budget to send out mailers, that would probably help get some of those people who maybe care about deer, but not computers, as you put it.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
And so I think that might hit a part of your population that otherwise you may miss. But if it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget, you know?
Well,
yeah, as far as first class versus third, I think it all gets there in a day anyway.
Sure.
It's all about one.
well, there may be some truth to that, but you definitely pay more for the first class.
Well, yeah, I
Definitely.
know. Right, well, that's why I'm saying third class. It's fine.
Are you wanting to join us, Mary?
I was just in the building, want to say thanks for all you do, appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too.
Well, we'll do some checking with the city administrator regarding the potential to mail out a flyer or a postcard.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be much. But, yeah, if we can do it bulk rate postcard, that does cost, that cuts the cost right there.
Clarification question on that, whole social media, public education program. Is there a vision that that line by itself would be meant to like drive people to the survey or send the survey to them? And that's, might seem kind of like really splitting hairs, but are we saying, hey, you go here, or we say, here's this thing, do this? Or is there one that's better than the other?
I don't think I understand your question.
If we put together a social media education kind of program,
Yeah.
and it's going out on Facebook or Twitter or other kind of mechanisms, do we want to drive people to someplace and say, here's a place to go to this? Or are we, it has to do with kind of like behind the scenes in terms of what's more efficient.
One thing about the social media thing is that there's a lot of people on our social media that are Wildwood residents. So that would be the advantage of a postcard, is that it's going to homes, people who live here. But on the social media, I mean, you'd be giving people a link to the survey.
Yeah.
And so, I guess, I mean, we have,
Is there a way to restrict to only to residents if we use the social media?
I mean, we have the question about the wards. There's no way for us to say like, I know where your computer is and you're a resident, because a resident could be taking the survey on their phone and clicking.
Right.
So there's no way for us to like geo-fence the survey, but you could in a post about it say, please, if you are a resident of Wildwood, take this survey.
Just for Wildwood residents. or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, could you simply just have do we have it already? I'm a resident, I'm not a resident.
Yeah.
By
Apply it
chance,
through
we
the
get a
ward.
non-resident.
Yeah. If we don't put it, or, yeah, you have to select your ward.
if you
That's
That's
have,
your funds that you have to get.
Yeah.
So if they don't select their ward,
I can make that a required question too. If they don't have a ward selected, then they can't move on.
Right.
That's easy.
What if you have, are you a Wildwood resident?
I mean, a
and
person
they
might lie anyway.
say no, can you just say thank you for taking our survey?
Yeah, I mean,
Have that be
I
the
can
end of it?
absolutely do that. They can also just take the survey and then like, you would know to throw their results out. They don't matter.
We'd say in social media, emphasize cities asking residents to complete the survey.
Yeah, I mean, I can do whatever you guys want. I can add a question that says, are you a resident of Wildwood? The only reason I wouldn't is just because, it's just another question.
Yeah.
It's just a flag to say,
Yeah.
this is one we're gonna kick out.
I mean, we already are saying which ward you live in, and there's no other option. There's only
Yeah.
the Wildwood wards. That's kind of the same thing. And if that's a required question, someone can lie, but like, someone could lie about being a Wildwood resident too. If someone really wants to take this survey, they'll figure out how to take this survey.
Can you put in on the first page, can you say in there, essentially, again, the intent is to gauge public opinion from residents?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it says it already in there.
It says it probably in like the long thing, but we can say it again. It's not gonna hurt.
That's in that first paragraph.
Let's see if there's anything in
I wrote that up yesterday, so I'm 100% flexible on that. I just felt like we needed a really good explanation of what we're doing and why.
Anything else on social media or public education?
No, and Michelle mentioned she's starting to work on the website, so that'll be an ongoing thing, and we make a goal of trying to get it pretty much in line when the survey goes out, at least get it reasonably set up.
It's fairly simple. I just need to add a bunch of links to it at this point.
Yeah, again, I will create a new link when we're like done making edits to the survey, so don't put out anything with this link.
No, I
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this one has like fake responses in it from us.
Yeah.
All right, with that, next item on the agenda was a potential capture and cull program. Nothing really new to report on this item. I think that what might be good, though, and I can put this together in very short order for the next council agenda, is just kind of like a very, bullet pointed, hey, this is what a capture and cull program would entail, because some people, again, it's one of those things where, as much as we've been talking about it, we're all pretty much subject matter experts, but for, the man or the woman on the street who doesn't know what this involves, there's a certain amount of linearity in terms of understanding its process. It starts with the Department of Conservation, and then they have to do their piece, and we have to do a piece. And we can, I think in that same timeline, kind of call out, this is what it is, this is what it isn't. We can't relocate deer because of CWD. We can't, use large enclosures because it's going to, this is what Department of Conservation allows, this is what they don't allow. That way, it's just a quick, get you up to speed executive summary of what that would look like. And I can put that together in short order.
I think, well, Michelle and I have talked, you mentioned one of them, there's a couple of things we need to make sure we speak to, in my opinion. The relocation issue, and then the other one that Michelle was looking into is the sterilization issue. And that we have relevant data or specs to support, why that's not something that we would recommend or are going to pursue, if that is indeed the case, which I think it is.
Right. Yeah, one is just not allowed by Department of Conservation, the other one is just clearly very cost prohibitive,
And just crazy.
and it would require someone who's essentially a sharpshooter to administer a local anesthetic to, anesthetize the animal so that you can actually sterilize it. And it's like,
Well, then you have to have 2 wildlife biologists to basically follow around this drunk deer until it falls down and then administer the big plunger injection of the contraception, and then it lasts 1 year, and they still go into estrus. So they still emit a scent
Right.
that draws bucks in.
right.
usually once they get pregnant, they stop emitting that scent, but because they never get pregnant, they continue to emit that scent. So they just draw more and more bucks in. And so they've tried to do a tubal ligation, and that does not, they still emit the scent. They have to get a full hysterectomy in order to really, in order for it to really be effective.
So if I was gonna go back in time and I wasn't gonna be an accounting and finance person, I was gonna be a wildlife biologist with a specialty in,
Deer surrounding.
What insurance plan do they have?
Well, the other thing is they have, even if they're just doing the injection, somebody has to be, the deer has to be in a safe place, somebody has to be there with them while the deer wakes up and drunkenly tries to run away.
Right.
So it's just, I think that's part of why Erin was just like, it's horrible, because
It's
I think
traumatic for the
that
animal.
whole process is
Right.
just, is traumatizing and really difficult.
right.
Did they, I mean, did we determine it has not been done anywhere nearby, or was it?
We had a tip that Town and Country looked into it. I don't think that they tried it, but I think with a quick phone call to Erin, I can get to the bottom of that and figure out whether or not they actually have a cost, or they were, sticker shock and said, oh, heck no, we're not gonna do that, which I suspect is likely the case.
The study I read was out of New York, and they had done it on an island to control the deer population, and it worked because the bucks couldn't come in, but when they did it on the mainland, they found it was just a total wash because of all the new deer that
Did they not have
arrived.
money for the ferry to get to the island?
So on an island, it works, but in a place like this,
We've
it'll
got
just
people
draw
call
more.
and ask them about it. I know that, so.
Yeah, and essentially, the females are just rutting all year, so
Right.
it just creates havoc.
They're running
What-
from the bugs.
Added bucks to the situation, so it's essentially just dangerous.
Yeah, we'll get answers on that, for
Okay.
sure. Any miscellaneous items that we haven't covered or included from what we talked about? Nothing comes to mind, certainly.
If you have any questions that you would like to see answered on like a deer management FAQ page, feel free to email them to me, and I'll try to put something together. I think we should run the survey by Erin as well. And so whenever that's
good
ready,
question.
I can,
If we can get her attention, it would certainly be good if she could at least take a quick look at it.
Yeah. I think she'd be willing to do that for us. And if everyone wants to look at their phones for like maybe a month from now, in terms of when we want to meet again, next council meeting would be on the 11th, right? Is that, I'm counting my days correctly?
Yes.
of November?
11th.
That's
That's a
veteran,
holiday.
yeah, that's Veterans.
I'm
Day.
sorry, November 12th.
Okay.
We are closed Monday.
Okay. So the 12th would be the next council meeting.
Do you want to meet one final time before the survey goes out?
I think it's probably going to be dependent upon whether or not, it's going to be dependent upon how council receives the survey, and if there gives the green light to go forward with it. I know that Councilmember Remy had mentioned something about the possibility of, certain ad hoc subcommittees like this possibly meeting, every other month, which I think we're probably to that point, because we've done a lot of work already in terms of getting to the point where we've got something getting ready to go out the door.
Do you want to wait and see what council does at this next meeting before we decide on a date, or?
We might be able to do any small tweaks over email and then
Right.
not formally meet.
I'm in favor of that, so we'll just kind of see how it goes a week from tonight, next council meeting, and make adjustments as needed, but, you know, kind of like pitch this from the perspective of, hey, this is, you know, pretty much in ready to go form and format. And we're looking for a green light to go ahead and get this out.
Yeah.
So with that, that'll still be to be determined. And if there's nothing else I'm missing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Probably have a third to a sixth, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Are we offline yet?
He's getting the instructions out now.
I had it down by now.
Well, my coworker was watching me and said that it cut out partway through.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so